Well, I think the first thing I have to do is just thank your church for having the guts and the faith to put up 3 comedians being in charge. This is not a normal thing. Those of you who are watching on the internet, you can't see it, but there are at least 10,000 people here. That's huge. They're all behind the cameras, but it's huge. We barely fit them all in. Just no front row people in this church, evidently. Everyone's back. So, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm looking forward to it. Today, I am talking about a book called What's the Big Idea? And this is it's the intersection between faith and science, told from a smart Alex point of view. In about 30 minutes, I will attempt to explain God, the universe, and other minor stuff. There, that's easy. I was going to explain women, but this seems so much easier. Before I start, I want to tell you a little bit about me and why I'm audacious enough to think that I can handle subjects as unwieldy as God and the universe. I'm a comedian, and I believe in God. That's it. Those are my only 2 qualifications. That's really all I've got. I see no conflict between my profession and my profession of faith. So how many here think God has a sense of humor?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, well, that's good. Thank you. Most of the pastors raised their hand. That's good. I appreciate that. To me, all you have to do is get out of the shower in the morning and look in the mirror to prove that God has a sense of humor. Personally, with me, he's getting funnier every single year. So I will start off with this. I think every person here, every person alive should ask themselves at some point 3 big questions. And we're going to see if this works. There we go. Good. How did I get here? Why am I here? What am I going to do about it? Those are the big 3. Okay, so we're starting with there. Starting there. So what can this world, in this crazy world, what can we agree on? And I think that's where this book started. Just to try to figure this out. So if you ever look at Facebook, Twitter, or the news, it's pretty easy to see that the world is divided over everything. And can we agree on anything? Is there any common ground anywhere? So I submit there is one fact that regardless of your religious, sport affiliation, political affiliation, all evidence points to the fact that the universe is expanding. That's it. That's all. We're done now. Take up the offering. We can go home. That's it. That's all. That's the only thing we're going to agree on. If this is true, if the universe is expanding, it makes sense that at some point it had a beginning. Does that make sense? Sure. If it's expanding this way, we have to backtrack a little bit. Okay, so I submit we're all looking at the same amazing wonder of creation, but from vastly different perspectives. And that's the problem with the world today. Science thinks it all happened by chance, 14 billion years ago, and religion says it took 6 days, so there's a small discrepancy between the two, just a very, very small thing. So I say debate amongst yourselves, and I'll wait. Go ahead, figure this out. All right, we'll go on. I'm not going to go out too far on a limb to say that science and faith are looking at the same event, but we're looking at it from vastly different conclusions. Let's look at it from God's perspective, and that's what we're going to do today. I believe, he says that 1,000 years is like a day to him. So I tend to believe instead of 6 strict days, this is my opinion and some other scientists, that it's 6 periods of time, however long those were. Now, think of God as a college professor talking to a bunch of slightly dim preschoolers. That's you, that's us, that's me. So he is outside of time trying to explain complex physics to people who wrote their law in stone tablets. It's like on top of which the Egyptians' language consisted entirely of emojis, for goodness sake. I always wondered what it would be like to be a court reporter back in Egypt. A lawyer would ask, read that back. The court reporter would say, man with bird head, snake, water, man, woman, sun god, Ra, big eye. Your Honor, I rest my case. That's so simple. So I'm going to divide this talk into several different sections. We're going to start off with the universe. I want to prove to you, by the time this is done, just the amazing fine-tuning that God did to make the universe, the world, and your body. And then I'm going to explain who did it. So a few amazing tidbits about our universe. To give you an idea of the power of the Big Bang, and of course science, people much smarter than me have figured this out. They figured that 1 second after the initial Big Bang, and it was, Hugh Ross talked about the initial mass being the size of a basketball, then he took it down. Now it's down to, they think it just started the size less than a period and a very small font on a page. So infinitesimally small, exploded. In 1 second, it exploded to something like 12 trillion miles, that's what they've estimated, 12 trillion miles across, and tipped the thermometer at 1 billion degrees, or the approximate temperature of a cheese pizza when you take it straight out of the oven. That's what it's like. After our initial kaboom, it took about 500 million years to form stars. Then those stars exploded, and they formed more stars. And the universe kept cooling and expanding until you have what you have today, which is a nicely comfortable, not as hot as it used to be, middle-aged universe. That's where we are right now. If our universe expanded too quickly, you should know this, it just went just a little bit quicker, it would have dissipated into nothing. If it expanded too slowly, it would have collapsed into a black hole. The rate of expansion was so precise, and I love scientists who figure this out. The odds have been compared to that of 1 billion pencils all standing on their sharpened points at once on a glass surface. On a windy day, on a roller coaster, during an earthquake. Okay, wait, I just want to show you how it's impossible. Fun fact, I love these. There are more than 200 billion galaxies in the observable universe. I guarantee you can't even get your head around that. 200 billion galaxies in the observable universe. Each galaxy contains about 200 billion stars, which brings the total to 50 billion trillion, or the approximate number of followers that Chrissy Teigen has on Instagram. So that's a big number. Fun fact, the most important element for all life is, do you know? Most important element for life. Carbon is right. You win. You get that painting behind you. That is yours. Without carbon, life would not exist. So we learned that in high school. We learned it growing up. Okay, carbon, good. But what they didn't tell you is how difficult it is to make. It's 1 part radioactive beryllium has to merge with 1 part of helium. Okay, that sounds simple enough. You introduce the 2 elements. I hope they get along, hook up, then they become carbon. Well, radioactive beryllium has a shelf life of 0.00000000000000001 of a second. That's 1/10 quadrillionth of a single second. Helium has to merge with it in that amount of time to make the element of carbon. The pressure is enormous. Imagine a coach rubbing the shoulders of helium, say, okay, big guy, I want you to go out there. Okay, no, you missed it. All right, okay, that's okay. Another opportunity's coming around. Okay, you've been training for it. Nope, all right, well, you missed it again. All right. Look, we need life. You've got to get out there. Nope, you missed it. Okay, all right, you got another chance. Nope, no, you missed it. The timing had to be perfect millions and millions and millions of times. How does that happen by chance? Totally impossible. And that's just one element. We have over 100. The precision, the fine-tuning of our universe is off the charts amazing. Tell me how it happened by chance. I defy you. Rather than accept the logical conclusion of an intelligent designer behind the Big Bang, I call them people in lab coats. People in lab coats who like to deny God have come up with theories like, well, there's multiverses, and there's oscillating universes, and blah, 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 blah. I'm sorry, I'm mocking it because these far-reaching theories are first cousins to all those monkeys sitting in a room in typewriters, and then hopefully they'll come up with the total works of Shakespeare. If you accept the fact and try to hold on to the theory and have blind faith that everything you see, hear, and experience all happen by chance, here's what you're saying. All living things, get it up there? Nope, we're on the duck. There we go. All ducks came from a non-living event. That's what I meant to say. All living things came from a non-living event. Consciousness came from a void which is not conscious. Our emotions, intellect, spirit, and will came from something that has no emotions, intellect, spirit, or will. The impossibly intricate fine-tuning of the universe was a complete accident. Jesus was either completely delusional or a world-class liar. And finally, Mickey Mouse is a lousy, stinking commie. So those are the things you have to believe. It is. Okay, there we go. We'll get rid of that one. I personally think it takes more faith to believe in that list than it does to believe in the concept of an intelligence behind our creation. For our universe to happen by total random chance has been compared to the odds of a Boeing 747 being formed as the result of a tornado going through a junkyard. That's what it would be like. That precision of something coming out of nothing. How did it happen? Okay, that's just the tip of the iceberg on the universe. Then we get to the Earth. Okay, fun fact. As we orbit the sun, you are booking it, baby. You don't even know how fast you're going. Right now, we are currently flying through space right now at 72,000 miles an hour. We are orbiting at 1,000 miles an hour. Our entire solar system is zipping around the Milky Way at 720,000 miles an hour. Every time we step outside, we should all throw up our arms and go, whee! And this should make that 50 miles an hour you're doing in the school zone seem fairly insignificant, don't you think? So, and I'm sure it's not a shock to report this, but another fun fact is that we are in the perfect sweet zone of our galaxy. It's just amazing what God orchestrated to keep us here and keep us safe. A few things. Most galaxy clusters in the universe have up to 10,000 galaxies bumping into each other. And it's a huge problem. Our Milky Way has about 40. Big difference. I'm sure that elbow room, total coincidence. Our privileged planet sustains life for countless plants, animals, and close to 8 billion people, half of whom are currently in LA trying to make it as actors. So that's it. There are certain basic requirements for life, and God, you have to have all these fit or we would not be here. You have to have 9 habitable zones. That's what science has come up with. They figured this out. Our little Earth somehow hits all 9 habitable zones. Again, one of these fantastic odds that happen. It's location, 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 people. One of them, our UV radiation has to fall within a certain range to allow life. If we don't get enough, we don't manufacture vitamin D. If we get too much, we get cancer. It's estimated only 3% of all the planets in our galaxy could possibly just hit that radiation zone alone. That's out of 9 necessary zones. Then we have photosynthesis. You heard about this when you were growing up. You know what this is? It's like without photosynthesis, we wouldn't have plants, which means we also wouldn't have warm-blooded animals that feed on plants like cows, which means we wouldn't have cheeseburgers, which means we have to eat a Chick-fil-A every day and they're closed on Sundays. So how do you get around that? See, there's a problem that God worked out. We have to be tilted at a very specific rotation rate to facilitate rainfall and seasons. If we didn't have that tilt, wouldn't be there. And outside force like the sun and the moon are necessary to control our tides. We need water, a breathable atmosphere, and possess a strong magnetic force. How does that happen by accident? Maybe I'm preaching to the choir too much here and you go, yeah, I got it. But when all these facts didn't come together, it blows me away. A grand designer took 14 billion years of incredible invention and innovation to get to the point where this particular planet was filled with relational, fairly rational spiritual beings living in the comparative lap of luxury at the top of the food chain. Maybe there's a reason for that. Fun fact, the Earth weighs 6 sextillion tons and is gaining weight every year. It is so hard to lose that last sextillion. Wouldn't you agree with me on that? To be fair, though, most of that is water weight, so you got to get it right. But boom, there's a joke. Okay. We've done the universe. We've done the Earth. Just a couple small little things that are amazing to me. Then we get to your body. As far as your bodies, you are absolutely stunning. Some of you are stunning adjacent, but basically you're stunning. And so think about the factory that you're living in right now. Your heart is beating. Your lungs are breathing. Your eyes are blinking and seeing. Your ears are taking in what I'm saying, translating it to your brain, which decides to either accept or reject the words that you're hearing. He had to do everything all that to set up for your body so you could just exist. Our bones completely replicate themselves over a 10-year period. Didn't know that one, did you? Which is much better than doing it all at once. You ever think, oh, sorry, new bones, sorry. Okay. You get new skin every 2 to 4 weeks. Mine's coming in all saggy now. I think I'm out of warranty. A little irritating. The human tongue. I love this. We have 10,000 taste buds. Chickens only have 30. It's the ultimate irony that if you fed a chicken to a chicken, it probably wouldn't taste like chicken. Things that amuse me in life. Your body has 100,000 miles. 100,000 miles of veins, arteries, and capillaries. If you put them end to end, it'd be enough to go around the world 12 times. You'd be dead, but a friend could do it for you. Then there's the human body's ability, and I know every parent knows this, we all do, but there's a seemingly endless supply that our body creates of various gases, fluids, and solids, the majority of which are gross. From blood to earwax to pus to sweat to snot to milk, for goodness sake, your body, how does it all come out of the same body? How does it know what to make at what time? Your lungs suck in air, you take in oxygen, then your heart pumps the blood out to nourish every one of your 50 trillion cells. 50 trillion are fed every time you breathe and your blood pumps it out. It's stunning to me. Then that oxygen then is sent back to make carbon dioxide for you to exhale. Isn't it amazing that we live on a planet and this is going back to the earth, that there just happened to be enough trees on this planet that when humankind came here, that when the oxygen came that we exhaled, the trees would translate it and back into oxygen. How do you plan that out, except a God who knows how long it takes to grow trees for humans to be here? If you had to even think of half of your involuntary system in your body, we would be totally hosed. So it's like blink, blink, breathe, heartbeat, swallow, bladder control, blink, breathe, heartbeat, digest, sphincter, blink, breathe, heartbeat, manufacture red blood cells, bladder, sphincter, heartbeat, fix toxins and blood filters, bladder, sphincter, bladder, too late. All right, we move on. All right. The bottom line here is you're a walking, talking, eating, sleeping, burping miracle. It is beyond comprehension. So, any one of those, I'm just skimming the surface. Obviously, it's in my book. I only have one left. So, but you can fill it out and I'll autograph it for you. That's my plug in the middle of it. Okay. People on the internet, just call me personally. Any one of the previous facts may not be enough to sway you if you're on the fence. But my hope is the cumulative total of unexplained phenomena about our universe, our planet, and our bodies will be enough to convince you that something greater than mere chance is behind this sometimes unexplainable curtain. So now we get to, okay, how did all this happen? It's very basic. Who made all this? And more importantly, why? If you look over the religions of the world, all the science books, only the God of the Bible claims credit for it. He's the only one. He's the only one to say, yeah, I did that. A few examples of how he took credit. Isaiah 45:12. I am the one who made the earth, created people to live on it. With my hands I stretched out the heavens. All the stars are at my command. Psalm 19:1. The heavens proclaim the glory of God. The skies display his craftsmanship. John 1:3. God created everything through him, the Word, and nothing was created except through him. Colossians 1:16. Go on, good. For through him, God created everything in the heavenly realms and on earth. He made the things we can see and the things we can't see, such as thrones, kingdoms, rulers, and authorities in the unseen world. Everything was created through him and for him. Hebrews 1:2. God promised everything to the Son as an inheritance, and through the Son, he created the universe. Well, at least he's not wishy-washy about it. He is making this claim. God claims to not only have made the universe and the earth and you, but for a very specific reason. I want you to just stop and just think about how big God is. I hope you wake up in the morning and talk to him and start with, I can't believe what you've done for me. It's like, think of how he started at the beginning of time. And even if you believe he did it in 6 days, I'm fine with that. It doesn't matter to me how long he did it. I just know he did it. But he did it with the purpose of you in mind. It amazes me. He created everything you see with a thought. He holds it all together. He is outside of time. He deserves to get out of that box that you've been holding him in. He is beyond amazing. But if you don't want to follow him because quite possibly you don't think the rules are fair. I'm sure you've heard follow me or you don't get into heaven. Well, that's not fair. You're absolutely right. It's not fair. It's not fair that one person creates the entire universe and then has to die on a cross to pay for your sins that he didn't do anything. Yeah, you're right. It's not fair. The God of the Bible is probably not the God you want. That's why I want to get to that point before we move on too much further. He is the God you need. He is not an errand boy. He does not spoil you. He doesn't pacify you. The God of the Bible is more interested in your character than in your comfort, which I think we all would love to argue with him about, but that's the way he works. He claims he is responsible for everything we hold dear, and as the owner and the creator of the entire cosmos, he has the right to determine who and who does not get to be with him for eternity. It's not unfair. It actually makes a lot of sense. What doesn't make sense is the alternative version, where chaos is the order of the day, and everyone is accepted by their own God, regardless of their beliefs or lack thereof. So that's God. I'm doing this in threes. God, the Bible, and then Jesus. Let's go to the Bible. Let's say you went to an awful lot of trouble to create a universe and a planet and human beings walking around for a bunch of ungrateful boobs. Again, that's you. To help you understand who he is and what his plan is, he decided to give us some written instructions. That makes perfect sense. If I were God and I wanted to give my children an explanation of who I am and who they are, I'd try to cram everything into one, easy to read and find a source. Stone is too difficult to carve. It's a pain to turn 200-pound pages. Writing in sand only lasts until the next tide comes in. Looking at my options, I'd have somebody invent a book. There. Well, it took a while, but we got it. Not to oversell the Bible, but it's 4 books in one. There you go. You thought it was just one? No, it's 4. It's an introduction of God and his Son, an instruction book for humans, the story of God's pursuit of those humans, and an accurate predictor of the future. The Bible is a treasure trove of information and entertainment. It's got action, sex, sacrificial love, important people doing really dumb stuff, and a great ending where evil is vanquished. It's also a literary masterpiece. It's written in poetic form, straightforward historical drama, allegory, parable, and an advice column right in the middle. The genius of the Bible is that the Old Testament shows us a God so holy that no matter what we do, no matter how hard we try, we can't reach him on our own. At the same time, it foreshadows the one who's going to come and bridge that gap. And then the Old Testament is one long story. Basically, he's saying, doesn't have to be like this. Let me introduce my son. And so you get to his son. Whenever we hear the name Jesus, what do most people think? One, you hear it as a curse word. And then most people go, yeah, I know him. And that it just hurts me. I want to give you an idea how big Jesus is. First off, when it says God holds the universe together, that's Jesus. Jesus is basically gravity. He's woven through the Old Testament in allegory and predictions. And God did this. He's so smart so that when he showed up, people would know who he was. They wouldn't be surprised. And I know that you know that Jesus, there are many predictions about Jesus throughout the Old Testament. There are approximately 400, some direct, indirect. But if for one person to fulfill just 8 of the hundreds of predictions of Jesus would be the same as filling the entire state of Texas filled with silver dollars up to your knees. The state of Texas, silver dollars up to your knees. And you put a cross on one silver dollar, just throw it in the middle of the state. You walk in blindfolded, reach down, and pull out that one silver dollar in the state of Texas. Those are the odds of one person fulfilling just 8 of the hundreds of predictions that Jesus had. So, pretty long odds. I don't know how many of you can predict your own birth, your own death. It doesn't happen very often. Jesus did it all. He came at the perfect time. You have to understand that. Why did Jesus come when he did? Perfect time. Because of Roman rule, it was the first time in history where people could safely travel from country to country. That did not happen for 100 years before his birth and to 100 years after his death. Peace didn't exist, so therefore they couldn't have spread the gospel. Not only that, but the Romans were very helpful, and they invented a little thing called crucifixion. I'm sure you've heard about that. The very painful and gruesome punishment was exactly what Jesus needed. He needed his execution to be public, so there'd be no room for doubt that he was actually dead, and it had to be done publicly. If he came today, he'd have to sit on death row for 60 years while his disciples exhausted the appeals process. It just would not have worked. Not only that, but there's miracles. To feed the 5,000, he'd have to individually wrap and label the nutrition content of the loaves and fishes, and he'd have to give Judas a participant trophy. So this decade's out. I just couldn't do it. Back to the Romans. God is so big, he can even use evil and corrupt governments to fulfill his wishes. That's how good he is. God made the world. He told us who he was in stories throughout the Old Testament, but he needed to let us see him face to face. That's the purpose of Jesus. To do this, the creator of the universe took on human form and stepped into our timeline. And I woke up this morning thinking about all those billions and billions of planets out there. It's like, well, could he have, are there other people out there? It's like, well, but the Bible says he wears the cross, the schemata. He's got his hands are pierced and his legs so we can see. He took on human form, and he'll have that for the rest of time. I said, how could there be another planet when he did that for us? Just things that go through my head. There are so many misconceptions about who Jesus was. And we hear that all the time. What do we hear? What do we always hear?
Good teacher.
He's a good teacher.
He's a prophet.
Prophet is that's a stretch. Most people just go, he was a nice man. He spread love. We should be like Jesus and spread love. And I tell people, do we normally kill our good teachers? It's like, Teacher of the Year goes to Mrs. Mizrahi. String her up! It just doesn't know. And people always say, even if they get the prophecy, they never say that I hear it all the time. We never claim to be God. And the people who say that are just unencumbered by the facts. Here we go, a few of them. John 14:9. We up there? Yeah. Jesus answered, anyone who's seen me has seen the Father. So how can you say, show us the Father? If you've seen me, you've seen the Father. John 10:30, I and the Father are one. John 8:58, what I'm about to tell you is true, Jesus answered. Before Abraham was born, as you know, I am. And of course, the rest of that is, and they picked up stones to stone him because they knew he was claiming to be God, and he had just committed blasphemy in their presence. This is C.S. Lewis. Love C.S. Lewis. If you want to do anything, just go study him. A man who was merely a man and said the sort of things that Jesus said would not be a great moral teacher. That's what you have to understand. He would either be a lunatic on the level with a man who says he's a poached egg, or else he would be the devil of hell. You must make your choice. Either this man was and is the Son of God, or else a madman, or something worse. I love how it comes down to be your choice. You're presented with something, and you have to figure things out. If you want an accurate snapshot of Jesus and his message, go to the Sermon on the Mount. That's the easiest one. Go to the Sermon on the Mount and read from the book of Matthew. He lays out everything there, from the Golden Rule to the Lord's Prayer, and how we should position ourselves with God. That he is God, love yourself. And you're not. That's just so perfect. Spoiler alert, it does acknowledge that he is something that you are not. And it's just like God to think that because he made the universe that he gets to make up the rules. So, just who does he think he is? Don't you ever hear that? I'll never forget this. It was one of those little I just have to tell you that we were watching TV and there was a particular religious person who made a particular comment that one of my in-laws didn't like. And it was a man of God quoting the Bible. And my in-law said, just who does he think he is? I said, well, he's the Pope. That's one thing. So maybe he's got something to say. That was before this Pope. Anyway, so we circle back to the big three questions. How did I get here? Succinctly, I think you know that now. Ask and answer. Why am I here? That still has, that's a big one. Why am I here? You ever wake up with that? I hope you do. The short answer is, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind. Love your neighbors yourself. You do that, your life positionally is correct. So the question is, what are you going to do about it? Once you come to grips with the fact that God made everything around us, and for some unknown reason, despite how much we screw up, still wants a relationship with us, so much that he sent his son down to earth to introduce him to us and take our sins on himself, since he's holy and we're not, you come to the final phase of your journey. So this is very quick, I understand that. You don't want to believe. The majority of people just don't want to believe. No one does. We want people to love us because we're great. And God keeps saying, I'm great, you're not, but I can make you great. And that's what we don't want to accept. Like, no. We hold on to this pride we have. The Bible says we're not so great. It totally acknowledges our dark side, and God loves us anyway. So God gave you two choices. It's so simple. Accept or reject. That's it. There's no option C. You may not like gravity, but you're stuck with it. You may not like these choices, but you're stuck with it. So, people have arguments, say the world is broken. Why should I believe in a God who made this world? A lot of times it hurts. And I just tell it, say, yeah, you're right. It is. It's hard. But your journey is so much better with the one who created it. Just like a car runs better with gas. And I always tell people, what if we treated our lives like we treat our cars? Like, well, I don't believe in gas. Put it in oil's intolerant. I can run on 3 tires. All right, 2 tires. All right, I don't need tires. As long as I'm going downhill, it's great. Oh, then it's pushing uphill is so hard. Why is it so hard? Why would God allow this? Oh, please. All right, let's get down to it. 3 kinds of people, and you get to put yourself in one of these categories. 3 types of people, and I say this, it's in Jonah, it's in Romans, it's in John. He just lays, it's in the story of the prodigal son. There's the rebel, the person they don't think they need God, so they run as far away from him as they possibly can. You can think of those stories in the Bible. There's the moralist. That's Jonah's both the rebel and the moralist. And the prodigal son, that's the elder brother, the one who thinks they can get into heaven by obeying their own rules. And then there's the broken, humble person who finally acknowledges they can't make it on their own. They accept the gift of grace from God and give their life to the Father. The point that needs to be made here is that life is hard, whether you have God in your life or not. But when you have the helper on your side, you have it's just amazing how much easier life goes. Someone who comes alongside when you're going through the dark times, the pit, the valley, the shadow of death. God says he's with you through that. He doesn't get you out of it. He walks on with you. So, after all, there's so much intelligence in the Bible and science that I just think going through life on your own is kind of foolish. I know I'm a moron. I know I need a guide and help. So, I could go on with a lot of facts, but I'm not going to. I want to give just a little bit of personal history with me and how God worked out in my life. And it comes down to 2 boxes, which I find just amazing how my life changed with just 2 boxes. I wish I had a great testimony, I really do. I wish I was on drugs and, abandoned by an evil stepmother. It's like, oh, I want your life. Mine was like, I grew up in a loving family. I had great parents. Everything, we were dysfunctional like everybody, but we were loving. And after high school, I was all set to go to Indiana University. I'm from Indiana, and my dad went to Indiana University, and my sister went to Indiana University. That's where I was going. That was the extent of my planning. That's where I'm going. On our SATs, it said, check 2 boxes. So, Indiana University, all right, Ohio's next door, I'll check that one. I didn't know it, but that's where I was supposed to go. I had no idea. They came over, they recruited me, everything I was doing in school with radio, television, they let me do it. And so much happened. God was looking out for me. It's just amazing. I was able to start a radio show, I did a comedy album, and I met a person called, what's her name? My wife. So if I had not checked that box, I would not have my wife, I would not have my kids, I would not have the life I have today. All because of just a high school kid going, oh, okay. I get chills when I think about how God was looking after me. Then the second box was Josh McDowell came to our school. And he was there for 3 or 4 days, and he told us about the second coming of Christ, which I never heard about because I'm Presbyterian. We never got to that part of the Bible. It just stunned me and how relational he was, and I finally said, oh, God has planned out everything. I've been turned on by this since I was in college. And it said, check a box if you want to know more. And so I checked that box. And when you do that with Campus Crusade, they're over in your apartment, in your dorm, in about 30 seconds. It's like, you want to pray? Yes, I do. Okay, dear Lord, I'll accept you as my prayer. So, today I'm asking you, metaphorically, check a box. This is the opportunity. This church will help you. There's 4 pastors. They all love God so much that they will disciple you through the steps, because it's confusing. It is. It's hard to start off. And the more you grow, the more you learn, you go, okay, I get it now. And I was saved in college by Josh McDowell, Campus Crusade, and then the people who discipled me along the way. So all anybody can do is make the best choice with the information that they have on hand. So I've given you a snapshot of what I know. And that's all we are, is beggars showing other beggars where there's food at the table. He created the entire universe, this world and your body. God wants a relationship with you, but you need to acknowledge that he's God and you're not. You do that by accepting his son, that he came down to earth to pay for the debt you're never able to pay. If you do that, you're no longer a rebel, you're no longer a moralist, you're a child of God and a co-inheritor of everything that Jesus has. Then the God of the universe will dwell in your heart and be with you all the days of your life, so you can start living the life that he actually intended for you to live. I don't know how many of you wake up in the morning and go, I don't feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. Duh. God will guide you where he wants you to go. He'll be there in the good times and the tough times, so that even the times that you don't know how you're going to make it through. I would not trade this life for anything. And I'm going to close today by the words of God. He says, apart from me, let me do one more. There we go. Apart from me, you can do nothing. That's where I start off every day. I am humble and gentle. Take my yoke upon you, for my burden is light. I am the light of the world. No one comes to the Father but through me. If you are humble and believe, I will come into your heart. Nothing can separate you from the love of Christ. Now there is no condemnation for anyone who believes. My peace I give to you. You can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. That the top line and the bottom line are my 2 life verses that I go through every single day. It's like, apart from me, you can do nothing. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. That's the offer. That is the offer. Everything I said today, it just comes down to that. Get the peace that passes understanding, ask him into your heart, and your life will never be the same. good luck on your journey. I hope to see you on the other side. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.